Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Well, it was scary at times, Flames fans, but here we are. Second time in a row that I get to cover a win on Game Over Calgary. Those are few and far between when I'm on the stream, but we take those. We take those, even if it is against a much lesser opponent in the San Jose Sharks. We take those wins, and if you came here for a Milan Lucic apology, you're not going to be getting one tonight. We'll get into it more later. Welcome to Game Over Calgary. My name is Auddie James. And like I mentioned, the Calgary Flames celebrating a 7-3 win over the San Jose Sharks tonight. It was a late one, so I hope you put on a pot of coffee and we'll be good to go here momentarily. Think you know what way it's going to go? Make your bet with Sports Interaction. Whether it's World Cup, which is done, congratulations to Argentina and Lionel Messi. The GOAT. What a legacy. Hockey, football, or basketball, Sports Interaction has you covered. Bet pregame, live and play, or on one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. And if you or anybody you know has any gambling problems, please be sure to check the show notes and reach out. Lots of great resources out there to get some help with stuff like that. And without further ado, we will bring in today's guest, my buddy from YouTube. It's been a while since him and I have chopped it up together, but I'm happy to have you on. Nick from Twisted Wrister Hockey. How are you, my friend? It's good to see you.
Hey, likewise, Auddie. Thanks so much for bringing me on the show. And even in a 7-3 loss, I'm honored to be on here with you and the rest of the SDPN community here.
Yeah, it's. I mentioned to you beforehand that maybe it would have been nicer to have it on better terms for you, but I think for the purpose of a Game Over Calgary show, I don't know if I could handle the comments and the stream if the Calgary Flames ended up losing to the San Jose Sharks team. But a good game nonetheless. Like I mentioned to you before too. In that third period, in that second period, the Sharks kind of had the Flames on the ropes for a little bit. I was a little bit scared, but like you mentioned as well, we helped you guys with the ultimate prize, man. A little bit closer to that prize of Connor Bedard. So I don't know. I guess it was a win-win for both of us, you could say.
Well, yeah, I'm certainly thankful. I mean, we did end up getting a pretty good game out of this. The score doesn't quite indicate that. Yes, the Flames did a great job of finishing the game. I mean, they almost scored an 8th goal as well. But I do think that the Sharks, they stayed with it. They were able to kind of weather the storm from earlier. Ultimately, Nazem Kadri probably the player of the game, I would think. Although some of you out there might be looking at 17.
Oh man, I was hoping you weren't going to bring him up. I actually put it in my pregame notes when the lineup came out because Daryl Sutter likes to hold that thing close to his chest as he does. I put Lucic second line with a bunch of exclamation marks and question marks. And then I was going to say, shockingly, it's not relevant anymore, but I was going to say it must have been nice for you to see that lineup card and see Milan Lucic on the second line with Huberdeau and Nazem Kadri.
Yeah, it's almost like David Quinn, coach of the Sharks, had actually fumbled with the Flames lineup card, given that we have guys like Matt Nieto and Nick Bonino in our top 6.
No, it was the one and only Daryl Sutter. So, a bit of a head scratcher for Flames fans looking into this one, and then an interesting performance, an unorthodox performance, you could say, from number 17 in red. Just your thoughts on, I guess, his game tonight. Look, I'll give credit where I'm gonna stop for a second before you go ahead. I'll give credit where credit's due. I've been very hard on Milan Lucic. A lot of Flames fans have been really hard on Milan Lucic. Has not been the greatest Calgary Flame this year. Has been in the press box for a couple games, but I'll give credit. He had a pretty good game. He had a pretty good couple of games against the San Jose Sharks team. But your thoughts on the big man?
Yeah, I'd probably draw a similar comparison, honestly, with Erik Karlsson. I know they're not exactly the same player, but with Karlsson tonight, he was horrible for most of it, especially as the game started. He literally caused what resulted in the second goal of the night, and yet he made up for it later in the game with an assist on the game-tying goal to Timo Meier. So in other words, with Lucic, you gotta give credit where it's due, celebrate those moments, but understand that you're still going to get some subpar play as well. Committing a penalty that was not in the best of his interests. I know that there were, he was kind of tied up with Shimmick there, but yeah, it's kind of like, look, he's going to have plenty of moments like that, but you have other talents out there that are more responsible for actually scoring. If he's able to do that once in a while, that's a huge lift. And for the Flames tonight, it wasn't necessarily like Lindholm lighting the layup like he did last night, or Mangiapane or somebody like that.
Yeah, and at this point in Milan Lucic's career, he kind of just is what he is. That's kind of what the way I've kind of explained it is. It's just he's just kind of he does what he does, whatever it is. Sometimes it's cardio, sometimes he makes a big hit, or whatever it is he does. He's kind of is what he is. He's past that point. Like I bring it up ad nauseum on this is 2011 when the Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup, and just how good he was parking his ass in front of the net and tapping in garbage goals on the power play, stuff like that. So you don't see that as much anymore from Milan Lucic, but it's nice to see games like this. And there will always be people on Twitter who are going to now hold on to this game and say that Milan Lucic is a top 6 winger. Okay, before we transition and pivot here, lots of comments already. James Johnson coming in saying, just here to say bench Milan Lucic still. So as we can see, there's no love lost between the Flames fans and Milan Lucic. Smokey Dan, nice to see you back in here. Well, never give up any hope for the Flames because they are an amazing team. And then that followed up by left-handed penman saying, Dan, it's the Sharks. Let's not start practicing lifting the cup just yet. And I'm not trying to put salt on the wound. You know it just as well as anybody else, Nick. But the Sharks they aren't that team. It's not a low blow to say that, the Calgary Flames should have beat the Sharks in these 2 games. And it's sad for me because, it wasn't that long ago that the San Jose Sharks were that team in the Western Conference. What was it? Was it the year the Blues won the Cup? They made it to the conference final against St. Louis. Not long ago, they were that team, and kind of a bit of a fall from grace since then.
Yeah, I mean, this season is mostly playing out the way that I expected. There were some nights. It's interesting in that I think tonight is the first time this season that the Sharks have lost by 4 goals or more.
It's impressive, I guess.
So, I mean, for a team that's, competing for a lottery pick, you would think that they would have already had a few games like that already. So they've been in a lot of close games, even earlier this season against really good teams. It's just that you saw it tonight too. The Sharks did have some 2-on-1s out there. They just can't finish. When you look at like expected goals for per 60 minutes, the Tomas Hertl, Timo Meier, Kevin LeBanc line is one of the best in the NHL. It's just that, again, they don't have the finish. They don't have that sniper, the person who can just tap the puck in the net. And so, honestly, even though we've had such a bad year, formulaically, it's almost like we actually have underachieved. We've almost had bad puck luck in a sense, but I can read between the lines. It was, we weren't meant to be anywhere near the playoff hunt at any point in the season. And I saw it myself in the first 2 games of the year when I was in Prague.
Oh, that's right. First of all, how was that? Because I remember you and I, when I reached out to you about coming on tonight, you were telling me about that. How was that trip? It looked like from the pictures what you shared, that looked awesome.
I mean, I've been to Prague before. It's a beautiful city. It's very old, right? Very ancient, I want to say, but the remnants from various eras of its history are still intact there. And the proximity to the arena was just about right. There's enough attractions to see and do. Beer is cheaper than water there.
That's not a bad problem to have.
It's got a lot of great things going for itself. I also watched some hockey in Helsinki afterwards. I went to Finland, and then I was in Iceland for a few days as well. So made the most of it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it looked like a great trip, and I was jealous. I want to travel and go see hockey and travel and see more of the world too. So whenever I see people like you who get the opportunity to do that, it's I live vicariously through you with all the pictures and stories that you shared on Twitter. Okay, a couple more comments before we continue along here. The Calgary Flames winning 7-3 tonight over the San Jose Sharks. A lot of people complaining about the weather here, Nick. It's minus 38 Celsius here in Calgary with the wind chill. I'm too ignorant to transfer that to Fahrenheit, but it's damn cold. It's damn cold. So a lot of people complaining about the weather out here for sure. Let's see. People saying they're worried Lucic won't get taken out of the lineup anytime soon after that. And you know what? This is what I'll say. Again, I'm not trying to be the Lucic defender because like I said, I've been one of his biggest critics this year, as have a lot of people. But it's nice. It's promising to see that. Not that I think it's he's going to be able to keep it up, but it's nice to still see it. I don't know. I just don't think I still don't think he belongs in the Flames top 6. Somebody saying, maybe this is a question for you. What do the San Jose Sharks want for their first round pick unprotected?
Well, we want to get more first round picks.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sucks in that the only guy we really have to offer that could fetch something like that is Timo Meier, because we signed Tomas Hertl in the middle of last season to an 8-year deal.
So
yeah,
take me through your 2 cents on that. Like, that just,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense to me. The Sharks, to me right now, are a team who maybe struggling a little bit with some of those contracts. Definitely a team that maybe could retool. I don't know if it's going to be a full knockdown rebuild, especially with some of those contracts. But retooling on the fly, I didn't think Tomas Hertl was going to be part of that long term, but I kind of wanted to know your 2 cents on that.
yeah. I mean, immediately commenting on Hertl, I think one reason we can't underscore with why he was extended is because he's marketable. And you saw that they just traded Brent Burns in the offseason. The Sharks are one of the worst clubs in the NHL in attendance, and I have a theory that they'll be out of San Jose in 10 years. So from a business standpoint, to put butts in the seats, it was important to retain Hertl. But yes, if I were GM, and I was saying this going back to last year, I would have traded Hertl so that I had the opportunity to extend Timo Meier, at the end of this year, he being a couple of years, younger than Hertl, and not with Tomas Hertl's injury history. So I thought that was a bad move, but, that regime is out the door for the most part. And so we have, Mike Greer and some others making the decisions now. And really, they just had a horrible hand at, the hand they were dealt going into this year. Not pretty at all. I mean, we're looking at something kind of like the remnants of the Blackhawks or the remnants of the Red Wings before them. It's really going to take, I think, easily 3 or 4 more seasons to just have a consistently competitive club out there. I'm not even talking about postseason or anything like that. So, yeah, that's why you're not seeing anything like the Sharks that, had been skating around and doing so in April and May for many, many years there earlier this century.
Yeah, pests in the West were the San Jose Sharks for a very long time. A player that maybe you're used to seeing not only from a conference rival but a state rival, Tyler Toffoli. I kind of wanted to ask a little bit about him because the Flames acquire him last year on Valentine's Day. That was one of the bigger moves that the Flames made. Obviously, tried to go on a bit of a run last year. So this is his first full year as a Calgary Flame. Things were good last year to start. They kind of tapered off. We had 2 or 3 good weeks of Tyler Toffoli, and then it kind of started to taper. But now he's starting to pick things back up again. I like that he's shooting the puck. That's something, like you mentioned about the Sharks, the Flames, up until these, shockingly enough, these last 2 games against San Jose, have really been struggling with their finishing. And Tyler Toffoli has been pretty much the only constant in terms of finish. But your thoughts on what you saw from Tyler Toffoli tonight? Because I think a lot of Flames fans are pretty impressed of what they've gotten out of him so far.
Well, one thing I like about Toffoli is that you can plug him in a variety of situations. He can play on the top line and he can be a finisher. He can play on the third line and just defensively hold things down. He plays penalty kill. He plays power play. And yeah, he's he's never been like a superstar, but again, he's somebody who will grow into whatever role you want to put him into. Big shout out. He had a couple of key goals, obviously, in these 2 games after just an assist in his previous 5 games. So it's good to see him get the ball rolling as as the Flames are still kind of figuring out who they want on a second line, for example. Big shout out to Tyler Toffoli. Actually, I saw that his wife Kat was recently on SDPN, and I,
Yeah.
being from California, I have no hockey ties seemingly, but I have one. And actually, I grew up on the same street as his wife Kat, and so we used to like play baseball together and Mario Kart and that sort of thing.
That's
So,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
she's a
Cat
cool,
and
cool
Cat,
gal.
yeah, Cat's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark had her on Game Over Montreal. Um, Obviously a big fan favorite when he was in Montreal, and it was really cool to see that Mark was able to get her on Game Over Montreal. So maybe we'll see if she wants to come on Game Over Calgary. I don't know. Maybe her SDPN tenure stopped with that great interview she did with Mark. Yeah, James Johnson saying, "Damn boy," because of that Tyler Toffoli video. That's that infamous Tyler Toffoli video. Question here says, Auddie, what's going on with Bread in reference to Mangiapane? He's almost invisible. Pucks seem to die on his stick. Where's the finish he showed last year? Don't even see glimpses of it. And I kind of wanted to see what you had to say, because what we saw from Andrew Mangiapane tonight is kind of what we've been seeing all year. We're not that far removed, like damn near close to a year ago, people talking about Tyler Toffoli potentially representing Team Canada. They didn't end up going to the Olympics, but if they were going to go to the Olympics, and now it just seems like, he secured the bag, he cashed the check, and the goals are gone. For me, from what I'm seeing from Tyler Toffoli, a lot of the shots are seeming to be forced, and I don't know if it's a Flames thing that they can't get to the middle of the ice, or if it's just an everybody else thing that they defend so well. But I feel like the majority of Andrew Mangiapane's shots are coming from the perimeter with bodies in front. He's shooting a lot of pucks in the legs, a lot of pucks in the sticks, and you saw that tonight. Did you kind of see the same thing from Mangiapane?
He didn't particularly stand out to me,
Right.
to be honest. Yeah, I didn't see. Like you were saying, his shots, if they came from the outside, that would make sense, because I can't remember him being part of like a 2-on-1. Maybe there was one in there, or like anything from the slot when they were actually holding the zone. So yeah, he's having a quiet year.
He is, and
it's understatement.
It's frustrating because this Flames team, like I talked about before, just missing that finishing touch, or just can't seem to get goals from anybody not named Tyler Toffoli, Nazem Kadri. And, you could really use a guy like Andrew Mangiapane, who's shown that he can score. And he had one really good year last year, but definitely would like to see a little bit more out of him. Some more here. One more comment, and then we'll kind of pivot again here. Why can't we put Phillips on second line? He would fit perfect instead of Lucic. Luch had a good night, but every single person in this room knows this isn't sustainable with Lucic. And you are speaking my language, friend. I've been preaching to get Matthew Phillips into a top six. He would have looked great. I don't know, and I'm not going to get too much into the AHL. I know you follow some AHL for the most part. I don't know how much you follow Calgary, but Matthew Phillips, obviously one of the Flames' better farm products right now. He's been recalled. He played a couple games, limited 5-on-5 times, so we didn't get a big sample size. And Daryl Sutter, man, he doesn't like little guys. They got to be big body. Take him out to the farm and milk the cows and throw hay bales over your shoulder. Matthew Phillips, just a little guy, but there's something to be said about the little guy. Cole Caulfield, Johnny Gaudreau, like the little guys are still around and they still make noise.
Oh yeah, I one of my first videos I produced on my YouTube channel was actually an examination of the point productivity for players 5'10" and shorter and 180 pounds and lighter, and you saw that there was a net gain over a 5-year period between like 2014-15 and like 2017-18. Patrick Kane, he's not a big player.
Yeah.
Nikita Kucherov isn't a big player. They're still pretty darn good, aren't they?
Yeah, and the funniest thing is I'm pretty sure Daryl Sutter's 5'10", and he played I don't know, he played a decent amount of seasons in the NHL. I can't remember off the top of my head. Regardless, he played in the NHL at 5'10", 180 or something like that. So the little guys, they belong. They can play. They can keep up. So whoever put that comment in, you are speaking my language. Huberdeau, Kadri, Phillips would indeed be a vibe. Okay. I wanted to ask you, you know what? You kind of brought up the point about the attendance. And that's something that I noticed. And I didn't really want to like poke fun at or jab. More so like, because there's a lot of things that people could jab at the Flames for. So I try to keep my shots to a minimum unless it's against the Leafs. In that case, I do bite the hand that feeds. But I noticed before the game there were those lights on the seats, and I'm like, that's sweet. Like everybody's got their phones out, and then the lights came on after the national anthems, and I'm like, those are empty seats, and there were a lot of them. Has that been a consistent problem? I didn't do my research and I wanted to look at the attendance this year, but I would imagine the Sharks got to be close to the bottom.
Yeah, I think last year they were 28th, and I think this goes back to like 2019, 2020, like that season. I mean, the COVID shutdown did affect, I mean, if we're talking about like teams in the States, the Sharks were one that were you wouldn't see as many fans like rush to get into the arena once they started letting fans in, and they let them in more gradually than some other teams. So that's a factor. But even so, before then, I was going to those games, and yeah, you could see it. The attendance dropped very quickly. And it's funny that we're talking about a team that's coached by Daryl Sutter, and who has coached the Sharks before too, but. Mm-hmm. Of course, he was the architect of the reverse sweep against the Sharks in 2014. And even though, people would still go to the games for a few years, really the enthusiasm started to die down quite a bit. Not to mention, to be honest, I don't think the city of San Jose really gives a darn about the Sharks. Mm-hmm. I think they do a horrible job of like actually, using them as a way to kind of market that city as an attraction versus other places in California. So I think that the Google campus that's supposed to be built there in downtown San Jose. I used to live down there. It saddens me deeply to see a major corporation making their way there and kind of tearing down what used to be just a charming little neighborhood. Yeah. But anyway, that's kind of its own thing. But yeah, Bay Area sports fans are fickle. They're fickle, and
that sucks.
And the radio stations don't give a darn about hockey. Not the only American sports market that doesn't care about hockey.
No.
But you turn on any radio station and you will never hear the Sharks. It'll only be usually the Warriors or the 49ers, maybe the San Francisco Giants, not even the Oakland A's. That's about it. And it's disappointing. It's it's the 10th largest city in the States, and in terms of I guess enthusiasm for that market, I really think it's tanking toward the bottom.
It's unfortunate because for the mid to late 2010s, it was a damn good team to not get coverage, right? Like that was a damn good team. Like I talked about them being the pests in the West. Flames fans know it. Other people know my other allegiance is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Wasn't that long ago. It was a Stanley Cup final. And it sucks to see that because we talk about the growth of the game, and you want to see hockey succeed in non-traditional markets like Arizona. People didn't think it was going to work in Vegas. Look at how it worked in Vegas. And Nashville too. Yeah, exactly. Like that's like on my bucket list of places to go watch a game. Talk about non-traditional markets.
I went a few years ago, and it's the best location of any arena in the league. Like there's no denying it. It's
really
amazing. Yeah.
I gotta get out there. I gotta get out there. I gotta see Vegas. I gotta see Vegas too. My folks went a couple years ago, right before COVID. They went to a Golden Knights and Oilers game, and they said, unbelievable. Just like the atmosphere, the pregame outside with all the fans. And that's what I wish like every market could eventually become. I don't think that's going to happen, but it would be damn cool if every hockey fan got to experience that. So I'm going to do a last call for any questions. So if you have any questions for Nick about the Sharks, if you have any questions for me about the Flames, get them into the chat right now as we're going to put a bow shortly here on the episode. And I wanted to ask you another thing about the Sharks. There's been a lot of chatter. You talk about Timo Meier. A lot of Flames fans love that Timo Meier guy. Everybody calls him Future Flame Timo Meier. It would take some pretty interesting GMing to get him over here from Brad Treliving. But one other player that has garnered a lot of attention, and rightfully so because of his bounce back, is Erik Karlsson, who didn't have the greatest game tonight. I remember seeing, I've seen it lots because I used to live in Ottawa. A shift where he takes the puck into the offensive zone, causes an O-zone turnover, and then dogs it back up the ice. It happens when you're an offensive defenseman. You're a puck carrier. Sometimes that'll happen, but that happened more than once tonight. I digress. Trade rumors. That's a pretty hefty cap hit. Lots of talk about potential trades that could work. First and foremost, do you see it happening?
Karlsson, I just
That's
don't,
tough.
unfortunately. Yeah, they traded away Brent Burns in the offseason to the Hurricanes, and they retained a third of his salary. And what they got in exchange was like an AHL goaltender, Steven Lorentz, and like a 5th-round draft pick. So really, they weren't able to get all that much, despite relieving themselves of about $5 million in cap space.
Mm-hmm.
So with Karlsson, yeah, I mean, they would have to eat probably half of his salary, or maybe it's one of those situations where the Sharks would, in exchange, take on a bad contract. Like with the Panthers, maybe they take on like Patrick Hornqvist's contract in order to ship Karlsson over there, like something to that extent. So, like I'm open to that if those contracts, like a bad contract, is something that would be on the books for no more than like 3 years. Because again, I don't think the Sharks are going to be any sort of competitive playoff caliber team, at least until that time has passed. So, I mean, I'm hoping that there's that opportunity. And Mike Grier said they're open for business for any player that's not Tomas Hertl.
Right. I'm really interested to see what Mike Grier does with this team. It's intriguing. And to talk about the whole Karlsson thing too, like you got to eat money on that contract, but then I think that's it. You can't retain, because it's 2, right? Is that the limit for salary retention? You can only retain 2 players' salary in a trade? Because Burns takes up 1. Is that a thing, or am I making that up? That you can only... Actually. I feel like if someone in the chat can fact check me, I believe that you can only retain... It might be 3. Maybe it's 2. But I believe you can only have 2 retained salaries towards your cap hit. So that would mean, like, not that the Sharks want to be open business and just retaining salary left, right, and center. But, yeah, I mean, that would obviously be a bit of a sticky situation. But the cap space would be nice. And a lot of people saying cap space these days, given the state of the salary cap, is just as valuable as high draft picks and stuff like that. So I don't foresee a Karlsson trade either. I think it would be very tricky. It's just unfortunate he makes so much damn money. I think that's the only thing really holding it back.
Well, I'd say that, if he is somehow able to keep his offensive game going for the next couple of years, that's exciting. That makes it, me want to actually watch the team.
Yeah.
That actually might put a few butts in the seats now and then. So it's not exactly the worst. It's for 4 more years. So, I mean, maybe in the last year, that's when you buy him out if you can't actually, make a deal with somebody else. So it's bad, but honestly, it's just, I'm just seeing this next couple of years for what it's going to be, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I got to hope that, I mean, really, I'm cheering for Brent Burns and the Hurricanes to win a Stanley Cup this year. Or, if you guys want to win,
I see your Twisted Wrister Flames jersey in the background. I don't forget when you got that, so I know deep down there's some Flames love in old Nick's heart there. So a few comments here. James Johnson saying the Sharks deserve Bedard. I'm rooting for them. So there's a little support, I guess, backhanded support for you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can root for us. That's fine. Just don't root for the Ducks. I think that they are a total farce being this bad. And it's their 5th straight season being god-awful. they shouldn't be anywhere near a top 5 pick this upcoming year, or this, going into the draft. I think that's ridiculous. There should be a league rule about that. That's ridiculous.
It's a clear tank. It's like without even a question. What are you doing? You're not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes.
For all I know, Corey Perry's the architect of this.
Sharks fans, Flames fans, mutual disdain for Corey Perry. There we go. That's what we're getting out of this one. I know you answered it in the chat, but for people listening on playback, Nate asking your thoughts on the new home away jerseys and where you rank them for all-time Sharks home and away sets, because obviously I know you're a big jersey guy. You do lots of jersey stuff. Nate, big jersey guy as well, does lots of concepts. So I know that's where that question stems.
Yeah, I overall like them quite a bit. And actually the uniforms, it's a lot of teal at home, but I've grown to really like them. I think it's because
dig it. I dig it.
For me, it's how the helmets have like almost a shine to them with that color. I don't know. It just does it for me.
Yeah, it's damn nice. I was a huge fan. I never really liked the orange striping, like the just subtle addition of orange. But I'm very happy they went with full teal. I think they look awesome. All right, let's see here. What do we got for last minute? Or we're in witching hour now. If you're a red zone watcher, we're in the witching hour of game over Calgary. The Flames winning 7-3 over the San Jose Sharks. Kudos to Greer taking older players to fill the bottom of the lineup and making sure to keep prospects in the AHL. That one coming from Pierre-Luc. Finally able to catch a live stream for the first time in a few weeks, and it's a win for Auddie. Yes, Veronica, we don't get very many of those when I host. But again, this is my 8th game over in a row, and the Flames have not been doing very well. So that should be expected at this point. Also, hey, now no duck slander in this stream. That's from Nate. He is actually a co-host for the Quack Report on the Hockey Podcast Network, him and Carter Potts. So he doesn't tolerate Flames or duck slander, which is quite the combination of fandom. But you know what, Nick? This has been great. This is exactly what I expected it was going to be. Just great hockey talk with you as always. An encyclopedia, guys. I'm telling you, Nick is the go-to guy for hockey stuff, like hockey historian, knows so much about the game, so much about its history, and we're very lucky to have him producing content for all of us to consume. But enough about me pumping your tires. Why don't you pump your own tires? Tell everybody where they can find you, what you're up to, and all that good stuff.
Man, I should just let you run with this. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel here called Twisted Wrister Hockey. So if you like hockey and you think I've been tolerable, this is about the length of my videos. So definitely head over to my channel, check out some videos if you like what you see there. Tap the big red button. I have a dog who's super cute as well. So
I forgot to ask you about Cortana. How is she?
Well, she's doing great.
Good.
She's in fantastic shape, except she does have a partial tear on her ACL or CCL. So we're gonna get that fixed. But
poor gal.
Everything else is great. Almost 9 years old, and she can still hike 15 miles.
What a trooper.
Yeah. And how's yours coming along?
She's good. Yeah. She's good. Mika is
that's right.
Yeah. Named after Kiprusoff. We had to keep a Flames name. So and it's funny actually, a quick story before we end. The day we picked up Mika was the day that Mika Zibanejad had that 4-goal game 2 seasons ago. So it was kind of like poetic. We're like, oh, here's Mika. And then we get home and we watch the Rangers game and Mika Zibanejad scored 4 goals. So I will always remember. No, I'll always remember that.
You can call her Zibby or you can call her Kipper.
Yeah, like it's either or. It's either that. It's either Mika, Zibby, Kipper, Shithead, Stinky, whatever nickname my fiance and I put on her. So anyways, man, yeah, thank you so much, guys. Be sure Nick's socials are in the description of the video. Go check out his channel as well. He's been commenting this whole time, so you can see the channel very easy. Click on that beautiful Twisted Wrister Hockey logo. It'll take you to his page, and you can hit subscribe, ring the bell, watch those videos, and you're on the road to 10K. Is that what it is? I've been so out of touch.
it's kind of a long road, but yeah, that's the plan.
I was like, I'm so out of touch with YouTube. That's like, I wish I was consuming more, but so out of touch. But yeah, please go subscribe. Get him to all those bajillion subscribers, please. And for you, Calgary Flames fans, thank you for listening. If you're listening on playback, please be sure to give the podcast a rating. What is it? What else do you do on a podcatcher? Follow it, subscribe to it, like it, so that it's in your feed. You see all of the Game Over Calgary episodes when they come out. Subscribe to SDPN. Go buy some merch on the SDPN shop. I'm wearing my Game Over hoodie. I had to retire the Steve Dangleberry's ugly Christmas sweater because we lost 2 games in a row with me wearing it. So sorry, Steve. I will wear your face another time. As for the next Game Over Calgary, we will be on your YouTube and on your podcasts, I was going to say airwaves, on Thursday versus the LA Kings. Peter Klein will have your call for that one. Until then, Flames fans, stay safe, and we'll talk to you later, pals. Thanks, Nick, and we'll see everybody later.